Today on Tank Radio, I have Scott and Chris coming on. We're going to be talking about the Morse Monkey. For more information on the Morse Monkey, go ahead and head over to Grapevine Amateur Radio or look at the description link. There's one there. And you know what's coming up next.
Play that awesome intro.
Play that awesome intro video.
Well, there's a dumpster fire.
Good afternoon. I am KG5ANC, and I have an affiliation with KG5AHJ that I married his mother.
Well, now everyone's going to hold that against you now.
Yeah, they probably will.
Chris, what's your call sign?
KB3CAP, Charlie Alpha Papa.
Awesome, and thank you both for coming on today. And we're here to talk about the Morse Monkey. The Morse Monkey is a pretty cool tool that you can build, and then you can learn Morse code through. Scott, the creator of the Morse Monkey, and I just kind of wanted to know what got into you to be like, I got to build this.
Because I don't know Morse code. And I know about half of Morse code now, thanks to building this and actually writing the program that people use to try to learn Morse code from it. But when they removed Morse code requirements from the licensing, that's when I finally jumped in, because I never had any success trying to learn it before. I've always wanted to have basically a technician or a general license, so that if I wanted to transmit with a homemade amplifier or a homemade transmitter something more than 100 milliwatts, I wouldn't have the FCC coming down on me, because I'd have an actual license. I could do that. So once I got the license, then I thought, okay, there's still people out there who are doing CW. And you had talked to me about building a kit, because the community loves to put together kits. It's part of the fun part of being one of these hobbyists. So I designed the kit, wrote the code to run on a little microchip, and let me just flip this camera down right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most of the kits do not have this big red, this is called a ZIF, or zero insertion force. It's because I can remove and replace the chips as I'm programming them, because I have to program them one at a time. So I have this little socket in there so that I can reprogram the chips using this bus here just before I send them out to make sure that they're the most current. But other than that, this is a little microchip. He's running at about 50 megahertz. He's a 16-bit microcontroller. I have these little inverters here that run as an oscillator that make the tone generator, transistors to turn it on and off. Of course, we got the speaker here, a little rotary dial that lets you select what you want from the menu, and then every time you push on the dial, you select that menu option. Of course, you got your keyer here that is out of camera view. Move this in. Got your keyer here you can use. You can use either a straight keyer or an iambic keyer. And the newer version of the firmware lets you select what type of keyer you're using and which contacts are going to be used for the longs or the shorts. And then some driver transistors that turn on the lights. So let me turn this guy on. Normally there's a battery pack here, but I use this so much that I have installed a little 3.3 volt regulator, and I'm hooking it up to a power supply so that I don't go through batteries as I'm developing on this. When you bring it up, the first thing you'll see is the settings menu, and all you have to do is rotate the dial, and you'll go through all the different options. And if you keep going round and round in circles, you'll go back to the menu, the settings menu again. So we press it, we can select what type of keyer we're using, whether it's an iambic keyer or a straight keyer. We can rotate it, and we can turn the background lights on or off. When they're on, they actually give you a little bit of feedback. Can you see that? Did it show up? It's not really showing up on the screen. Yeah, just barely. It gives you a little feedback on whether or not you're successful when you key something. You can set the WPM rate, which is basically how long it's going to wait to determine whether in a straight keyer, whether it's a long or a short. An iambic keyer, it doesn't matter. And then how long of silence it's going to wait to decide when you're done keying a character. We can set it to, we can set it to 18, 5, or 10 is what I normally set it on. Then we have the side tone, so that the speaker here, which is there, the speaker will actually play back what you're keying. With the side tone off, it won't play back what you're keying, but it will play back tones that you need to imitate. And then lastly, we can control which one is the long, which contact in here is the long for a iambic keyer, or which contact to use just for the plain straight keyer. You can use the tip contact, or you can use the ring contact on the plug. And then it'll save these settings into memory so that when you power it up the next time, they'll be restored. And then takes us back to the root menu again.
Cool.
Then we have these different modes. First of all is practice mode, in which case you just get to key whatever you want. And it tells you what it thinks you keyed. And if you do something it doesn't understand, it gives you a little asterisk. Basically, it's displaying a little asterisk on there takes less space than putting in WTF.
I like it.
When you're done, just press the button and you exit back, and you're back to this top level menu again. So after practice comes dictate mode. And what that does is it gives you something that you need to key. In this case, a number 2, which I need to remember. I think it's that. And it tells me whether or not it's correct. And a Z. I have no idea what a Z is. Anybody know what a Z is? I don't know. If I make something up,
You got me on that.
tell me that it's wrong.
We did see the backlight just a little bit.
Yeah, the backlight stays on for like 3/4 of a second, and it'll either be green if you get it right, or red if you get it wrong, and then it goes back to white again. Used to know what a G is. It's been a while since I played with this, and that's wrong too, so I know that. When you're done, it tells you what your score was, how many you got correct, and how many you failed. And then you're back to the top level menu. The next option is echo. In this case, it plays back a tone and you need to repeat it. You don't know what the character is that it plays until after you key it. So that will replay the tone every 10 seconds until you start keying it. Once you decide what you're going to key, it waits for a period of silence and then decides whether or not you got it right. And it will show you what it was. I got 3 correct and I got 1 wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's back to the top level menu again. That was echo. The next thing is copy. This one, you don't use the keyer except to indicate that you've done. This one, you get out your trusty pencil and a piece of paper. And what it will do is it will play a 2x3 call sign, and you need to write that call sign down.
And this one was inspired by Mike, KAMRD, when I was talking to him about other functions to add this. And he said his most issue was copying down call signs, so we came up with this feature.
Yeah. And if you don't do anything, it will, like copy or like echo, it will wait 10 seconds and then repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, when it's done, if you just press the keyer, it will show you the call sign that it randomly generated. All the call signs, like I said, are 3x2. They always start with a W or a K. They always have a number in the middle. Other than that, they're randomly generated. And then when you're ready, push the button and it'll generate another one. Or you can just stop. And then we're back to the settings. So that's all the functionality that we have in here. As I was sending these out, I had some feedback on some people who were complaining that the original ones were not stereo, so they remodeled one, which this is not what I have here, but that's what Chris will show us, because I sent him one of the pre-built ones. It actually has stereo, because initially this plug here was just set for mono, and it's got a little volume control because I used a higher output amplifier on the output stage. Usually I recommend, instead of using a little speaker like I'm using, I recommend using earbuds, and that actually gets rather loud. So that's why I wanted to put a microphone or a little volume control on there.
Nice,
nice. Those are all the features of it. Let me share my screen if I can real quick. Okay, so this is the instructions. I've improved them over the original instructions because shows you all the parts that come in the kit and a list of what they all are, how to interpret them. And as we did last time, let me scroll back up, we actually wrote on the side of some of these parts what their actual values are, because I know trying to read them can be a challenge.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
very helpful when I was assembling my board, going through and doing the inventory. I didn't really have to decode the resistors. You already wrote on there which resistor it is.
It also helps because I've had a few people call me up and say, hey, I was missing something. So I can drop it in there and send it to them.
Mhm.
Now I'm triple checking every kit before I send it out. Also, this is a basic layout of the board. So for each one of these steps, like R9, 10, 11, 8, 12, I have circled where they are on the board as well. So you don't have to go hunting for them.
I think that was my feedback.
It's nice, yeah.
And then the latest one, like I said, Chris has built the new case for it, has the volume control just hanging off the side. So if you just set the board on a table, you can run your thumb against it, or if you put it in the case, it sticks out enough.
Very nice.
So that's all the instructions I have set up here for how to do this. Also, you had initially complained about the LCD display, which is up in here. These are, I thought they were 2mm screws, but they're actually 2-256 English screws. They're very small. And I had originally used 6 of these things because I used these guys, and then also for the battery case. I'm sending 440s for the battery case, but I'm still using these really annoyingly difficult to handle 2-256 nylon screws for the LCD. So that at least helps it, because when I used the smaller screws on the first version, they actually fell through the hole in the battery case.
I have a small suggestion for the battery case, and that's to run the wires on the bottom instead of through the top. It's a little bit cleaner installation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing I was thinking of doing, although it would drive the price up a bit, is to supply this 3.3 volt regulator as an option, so that you can mount it there and have basically one of those USB charger plugs like you use for your phone. So it would bring in 5 volts and regulate it to 3.3, and then you could run it on a power supply instead of having to use batteries. They're more than welcome to try to do this as I did. I just bought a 3.3 volt regulator, attached the 2 capacitors on there like the specification sheet says, and jumpered the wires to where the battery connections would have been.
So what tools did you use to design the board?
I used a PCB design tool called KiCad or KiCad or something. It's KiCad.
Yep.
It's a really neat little freeware PC design tool. They call it a schematic capture, because you can draw a schematic on there, and then it'll export a net list, and you can bring up a board, control the size of the board, and it has some options where you can plug in a layout, an auto router tool on it, but it's just as easy to just hand route it yourself. So we have the tool here. So this is the main program here. I'm using version 5.1.6. You can bring up, and it brings up the actual schematic, and this schematic is actually included in the documentation. Or you can bring up the PCB, and it will show you where all the connections are, and you can route all the things there. Let me moving around is a pain. So it will actually show you as well, if you pick like a net list here, click on that, it shows you everybody who needs to be connected to this pin. Or if I go and click like that guy there, everybody who needs to be connected to that pin. So by importing the schematic into here, I can actually use this tool.
That's why I answered
I
everything.
put the schematic in there, I can actually use this to verify all the connections are correct. So I use this to actually draw the schematic and design the board, and then I sent it off to a company in China that makes the boards. And then, since this is this chip here, this big chip right here in the middle, is a microcontroller made by Microchip. It's a 16-bit controller. It's got 64K of memory. I used this tool, which is called MP Lab X or MP Lab 10, and this is their version 3.6. So it lets you do all the code editing in here, and it will compile, and then it will program the chip one at a time. So what I'm having to do is bring up this tool, program the chip one at a time, pull the chip out, put it in the other board, make sure it works, and then program the next chip. I don't have anything that will program like.
Yeah, that KCAD program is really nice because it has a huge library of parts, so you don't really have to design your own parts. You just place the ones that you use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think that. Thank God for the specification sheets that come with these parts, because now I could get the footprint for this rotary dial, or these guys here are like 1.5 millimeter spacings on them, and there was nothing in their library that had that, so I had to get the footprint for that. They did have footprints for this CPU, but they didn't have this specific one that had the pinouts the way I needed it to. So probably about 30% of the parts on here, I had to actually draw my own footprints anyway.
So, Chris, how did you get the Morse Monkey or find out about it, and what caught your eye about it?
So I became a Tech Plus many years ago, and after learning Morse, to copy it, I realized I never learned to actually practice with it. I never actually keyed anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Tech Plus. Fast forward, I took the extra by April challenge, and I got my extra.
Ooh, congratulations!
Oh, thank you.
And shout outs to the clubhouse who got that up and going.
Yeah, that was a neat challenge. I used that as a kick in the pants. And I realized, there was just one thing left in my repertoire that I wanted to catch up on again. And that was actually learn to do learn to do CW. So I saw this little project. I love building kits. And I saw it on Jason's channel. And I bought it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And got it and put it together. It took, I don't know, a half hour to build. It wasn't that hard. It was instructions were pretty good. And
well, thank you, because I believe Mr. Tank there took a little bit longer to put his together.
Yeah, it did.
I am an electrical engineer, so I have a little bit of advantage. I also have a 3D printer, and I was like, I couldn't just let a board just lie bare. I had to make a case for it. So I used a free tool as well, called Tinkercad, and just designed it, starting with the box around it, and slowly starting adding cutouts. I don't know if you want to share the screen there.
Yeah, go ahead. You should have permissions to.
So Tinkercad, basically you have solids and what do they call the other one? Holes.
Mm-hmm.
So to build the top of a box or bottom of a box, you create a cube, stretch it out to the right dimensions, and then you put a hole in the middle of it, and that's where it sets. And then I've added little standoffs and little cutouts for the volume control.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Added little words here and there to, because I hate to keep things unlabeled. And just slowly built up upon it.
That's pretty cool. And what 3D printer do you have?
I have the Prusa Mark III.
Yeah.
3S. And this is what it ended up looking like. Added a little switch there, extender, so that you can actually turn it off and on from outside the case. I hate cases where you have batteries that you have to unscrew and screw back in, so I made it all kind of clip on.
Nice.
Kind of slide this in, and that's what the final product looked like.
There. That's nice. Very nice, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And these instructions, I'll put the files on printables, and anybody can print this out, or get your neighbor friend that has a 3D printer.
Or the neighbor's kid.
Yeah.
Awesome, y'all. So
There's
we're
one other thing,
yeah.
one other feature that has recently been added. It was it's actually available for the old one too. Let me flip this up. Right next to the rotary dial, there's a little multi-pin header. There we go. Put this back down. And if you buy one of these serial cables that is a USB to serial connection, it needs to be the 3.3 volt type of connection. You can plug that directly in, and I've got a piece of software that will take the firmware file and download it into the chip. So actually we can upgrade it to newer versions if we add features.
Ooh, I like that.
And that goes on the header that's on the top there?
Yes.
Okay.
There's instructions. It's actually on my website, because the original links and things that I go directly to my little Jason's site, I've replaced them with my little LLC side business is unforeseenproductions.com, and then it's under Morse Monkey / morsemonkeyinfo.html. And here it tells you where to get the instructions for the previous board, firmware updates that you can download, gives you the part number of the USB to serial cable and the type of header you need, and then where you download the program that knows how to talk to the USB cable so that it can actually download the software in there. It gives you all the instructions and stuff.
Just a quick plug for the 3D printed keys that you can make.
Yes. Is those Adams design?
Yeah. Yes.
I recognize it. The K6 ARK Pico paddles.
Yes, I love these things.
Oh, look at the colors on that.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's awesome. So Scott, where do we go to find more where we can purchase the Morse Monkey?
It can be purchased from hamradio 2.0 websites. That's Jason's website.
And,
And I think everybody in the world has a link to that except me.
the link will be in the show notes, top link.
My little LLC side business is unforeseenproductions.com.
Cool.
So this is where I have my general information about the Morse Monkey.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Chris, would you like to share anything? You got any projects coming up or places that we can go and find you?
I don't, everything I design goes on to printables.com.
Wow. Well, thank you for contributing back to the community. That's always nice. And to everyone else out there, thank you for watching. Go forth and conquer.
Yay.
Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.